My talk today is about projects for calculus classes. I don't know it's quite IBL, but I think the goal to make the project is to make students to be more independent thinker and have this communication skills, and it's pretty much open-ended project. So let's see over here. A little bit of history of my IBL experience. I was introduced to IBL because one of my colleagues, he was really into IBL, and so he kind of encouraged every junior faculty to go to the workshop to expose to the IBL, these new skills, and I was so lucky that I came to the workshop 2 years ago, and I was here at the MOL conference last year as well as this year. So this experience makes me thinking what I can do for the calculus idea. So before it was more straightforward lecture style, and then I input some teamwork and group discussions. Then recent years, I put a student presentation for the problems for every single class at the beginning of every time we have 4 credits. So we meet 15 minutes for each class. Then I was thinking, well, there's something else. I can just let them do pretty much all the work, and they can explore all the possibilities we can do. So one of the motivation is, in the first class, and some of them were wondering, because this is required for the students, and they're probably wondering, well, why we are taking this course? And so instead of trying to convincing them, well, it has many applications, it's just not derivative integrals, all these computations, so I wanted them to explore by themselves. And so it's kind of one of the motivation of what's going on. So this is the background of the calculus. We have changed the book very often, but calculus 2 is the one I'm talking about. So it's the concept and the topics that we'll base on to do their projects. So it's typically techniques of integration, different integrals, and it has a little bit of hyperbolic functions. Then it's most series and power series, and a little bit more polar coordinates. Okay, so the students, I guess I'm a little bit lucky we have smaller size of students, and those are mainly the freshmen, and the many, well, some of them were math educations, but most of them from physics, biology, and chemistry, and some computer science students. So in order to make them more motivated, I guess in certain way, I've had to put it into the grade. And as you can see that the projects, which is to investigate the applications of what we have learned in class, will have 10%, which have 2 parts. One is about writing up their paper, and the other is to do the oral presentation at the, well, in the very last week of class. And the problem presentations, that is what we did at the very beginning of the class every day to work on, to let the student write down their solutions on the board and present what they have done. So the project, here's what I have done in last semester. In the first day, they were handed out this sheet, and they were convinced that it's very important to have this project on overall. And then we handed out the general information, what I'm looking for this term project. Then they are, and also I give certain guideline, which is Rubik's. I will share that later. But then throughout the semester, I just kind of reminded them we have projects, started to thinking about it. After we done these integrals, okay, can you think about what is a possible project for the future? And after we done the series, I just kept on reminding them. And it's not required for students to discuss me if they feel confident, but they are encouraged to come to my office so we could discuss in person. Will that be a good project, an appropriate topic, or how they can improve based on the current topic? So And the final thing, they need to submit their paper, written paper, and the PowerPoint presentation by the Friday before last week, so we can do this evaluation. And the reason we do the PowerPoint presentation, that is just for the time issue. And they are free to do all the work on the board to explain the problem. All right, so there are different projects that actually I have tried, and some were very structured way, but the project I'm talking about is very open-ended. And one of the main reasons is, well, to answer them why this calculus 2 is necessary, it's important. And furthermore, I try to give as little as information as I can. So they can choose, the main point is they can choose any application of the topics we had in learning class. So typically, that's the list in the textbook. And well, as I said, that it's why it is important. And they can be applied into different classes. In the previous talk, and there was applied calculus, I would have said that it's mainly for biology and economics. But those students, they are not required to take those courses. So I think it's, and in class, we had limited time period to cover as many applications as I could. So I think it's very necessary, at least from my point of view. And also there were the other benefit as well. So first of all, they can get to explore all different resources and pick up any applications they want, as long as it's fit the description. And furthermore, it's not just the knowledge in the textbook, and they can build connections from the knowledge we have learned, as well as the real-life problems. And as I will show you later on, some of the project, they kind of let me learn the other different aspect of the calculus I have learned. And furthermore, since we have writing part and oral presentation, it's actually train them and push them to practice those skills as well. I have a student who was really brilliant, and he was hesitated to do the student presentation at the very beginning, and I kind of had this requirement and encouraging him to go ahead, and turned out he was really good, and he did a brilliant job in this problem presentation as well as this project. So it's kind of be able to give them push and start build them confident. And furthermore, I ask the student to peer evaluate partly of the oral presentation, so they do not just sit there as audience, they have this kind of responsibility to evaluate, to critique, and to value what the other students do. And most important now, it's very fun and valuable learning experience for students and as me. As you can see, the students from different backgrounds. So within this limited class period time, students and I were exposed to so many brilliant applications from different point of view. Okay. All right, so here I'm gonna try to share some students' applications, but before I started, I just want to do quick questions. So for example, you already, everybody I assume done calculus. So what is the project? Just applications or topics in calculus 2 you have learned, okay, which is integrals, not derivatives, and a series, and a power series, and maybe hyperbolic function, those parts. So is there any instant application topic you can think of? Okay, so how about we do that in group, each table? Give you 1 minute to think about. So is there like some applications topic which is appear to you, and which part of math calculus 2 you have done, okay? Does any group want to share any applications you have on your mind about these topics? Yes.
Jeb Collins, West Texas A&M. So the calculation of work, basically an integral of a force over a distance, first one that came to mind at least.
Yes, great. Actually, the one of my student, he from physics, he did exactly like that. Okay, great. Any other ones?
The first one we were talking about was medicine. So if you're taking medicine or perhaps drinking caffeine, how much are you going to have accumulating in your body versus how much is wearing out? Because that's a nice, sum, possibly an infinite sum if you're taking it forever. But
Yes, and some are like pre-med students, I did do something about that as well. Yeah, great. Okay.
Paul Forrester, Alamo Heights High School, San Antonio. Following up on your comment there, one of the projects I have my kids do is take repeated doses of medication, and the first dose decays with a certain half-life, and when a certain number of hours after they take the first dose, they take a second one, and they both decay, then a third one, and so forth. And the objective is to find out eventually where does it level off, or how does it level off, taking regular doses, say, every 6 hours. And that's a follow-up on what you were doing. It's an interesting application of geometric series because the cumulative dose is the sum of a geometric series. There's another one, the hanging chain, but I'll let someone else have the floor.
All right.
Mary Shepard. One of the ones I like is a fluid force where you can actually give them like Hoover Dam with dimensions, and they have to figure out the structural requirements for that dam.
Oh, okay. That's nice. Good.
Fluid force on the side of a vehicle sinking into a lake. I think that has a certain practical application, and you can't open the door.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, so as you can see that based on your different background and your interest, you can see all different applications. Some others may know or may not, and I just want to show how those students kind of put on their topics. And I just choose those students who have like pictures, so it's more visualized, and we have more than those topics available. So there are applications in architecture, and people were talking about this gateway arc of St. Louis, which is using these hyperbolic functions and try to match up to do this arc length using these different integrals, and as well as this Golden Gate Bridge. And there is some like physics, including this work, and there's a center of math, and orbits of planet, and the other things as well. And there's some chemistry and medicine, so like the I don't know how to pronounce the words, but it's about this drug and how long it will take to digest it and get rid, so it has no effect in the body, and certain things about integrals as well. And there's one interesting is about NMR, so it's a nuclear magnetic radiance to this molecule to see how fast it goes. So it was really interesting. And there is some like real world problems. So there was one computer science student doing this fingerprint authorization, so that he actually had this project in computer science department, and he has this equipment to read out this fingerprint and to design the center to see this arc length and a curve. So it kind of really interesting to see that. And roller coasters and 3D printing, it's like a multiple layer of kind of this area, so it has different integral point in it. And it's a typo, it's a head injury criteria. I have like two groups from 2 classes were talking about that, so it must be really fun for them to talk about this. And there's also talk about gas compression, and there's a picture from Air Product, which is a local company. And they're talking about this river discharge of the Delaware River, so it kind of has a similar idea of the dam problem. And some student has a hobby of making these ceramics, and they try to figure out what is material used for that, which is calculate the volume. And some students have like a hobby to do the letter scan creating and try to see how many tiles need to do this pathway. So there are many, many others, and it's a really open eye for all the students and me. But how did I carry it out? So as I said, that it has 2 parts, and I only allow them to do either individually or work with a peer. The reason I'm doing that is try to let them to have enough variety of projects so students may be explored on, but we only have like either 2 classes. No, we have like 2 hours in the very last week, so that's kind of reasonable enough. And then it's hard, as I said, that it's open-ended, but it's harder for me to see how much information I should give to the students, how much I should keep. So, well, I guess I could give them a little bit information about the format, which is the API style, and they need to investigate these applications. And the structure should have a title, abstract, main body, and a reference. And of course, the students were not satisfied with that, so we always have like 10 minutes or whatever until the end, and they want to know more. What are you looking at? The most often question they ask is, how many pages do you prefer? And I said that I do not really mind how many pages you give to me as long as you follow this kind of rubrics. So it's kind of, but even though they still want to know the specific number. So I kind of borrowed it from this online from one website, but I couldn't remember the name. But anyway, so we are looking at, you could just quickly read it through. So organization, every single category has a pointer from 1 to 4. Depends on how well they're certified to this category. And so that is what I'm looking for. And then about the presentation, I only give them 5 minutes, around 5 minutes. They can use the Blackboard to do any work they want, or they could like take a picture and put it into the PowerPoint. And then they need to leave at least 1 minute for any questions students might have. And of course, I would asking, well, what are you looking for? So instead of answering question again and again, so I gave them a vague idea I'm looking for these presentations. And as I said that in order to engage those audience students, I let them assess the presentations. Well, it's a 50-50 chance, 50-50%. And it's based on this content and development and presentations. So, all right. So to be effective that, I think it's very helpful into my classes, except that last semester we have so many classes that got canceled, so I had to rush through to fit everybody and into the last week of class. Besides this heavy schedule. But I think overall, this did its purpose. That is, the students were more engaged and they get their first experience about writing and presenting mathematics. And most students, it's just a first year. So, and also, they can do their research and they can talk about and share the ideas they might have. And most importantly, they answer their own questions why calculus is important. And they were starting to excited about these calculus ideas to see, wow, this can be actually applied to that kind of aspect, which I have never thought about. And of course, there are some problems I have noticed. So for example, many students, they waited until the last time to the last couple of weeks to actually start on their project. For example, my office hours, I rarely see them to talk me any project except the second week from the last. Everybody come in and say, "Is this seems okay? Will that be acceptable?" So I was thinking, well, in that case, I probably will do some adjustment in coming semester. That is, rather than to turn in their title abstract or outline kind of somewhere ahead of time. But the problem is that I had to learn that topics before they want to do the application. So I'm still wondering if I should put a certain timeline so that I can follow. And another thing is, even though we have this 1 minute answer questions after each presentation, but very few students ask questions at all. So they kind of explore it, say, okay, that's nice, and that's it. So for that problem, I was thinking, okay, maybe I should give some, I don't know, credit or to encourage them to ask questions, to critique, or even to comment what the other student has done. And also, as you may be aware that for the oral presentation, it's a 50%. I'm doing the grading and student do the other grading. So I hand out this class sheet for each project and then collect it at the end. But students didn't take really seriously, and they were too generous for all the presentations. They are very good. Mostly they're 20 out of 20, and they're so it didn't quite get what I wanted. So I probably need to more emphasize what they're looking for in that aspect. And also a little bit grading for the instructors. So because the timeline, so it's in the very last week, and I want to get a return to students as soon as possible so they won't forget anything about that. But it was worth it, so I plan to continue this project. And I'm also want to use this opportunity to get any feedback, suggestions, comments of what I can do or what we can do better next time. So, yes.
I'm Corinne Clarkson, and I actually have a question for you. What types of sources were your students using in their presentations?
Okay, so they were allowed to, in the first day syllabus, and they were allowed to use certain different textbooks, and there I do give them to the link of the KU library and certain journals that can look into that. But that's another problem. The student didn't use a lot of resources like in the library or database. Instead, they try to grab what is more familiar to them. So it's like based on their background and that kind of thing. That's what I'm also looking at to improve next time. All right.
Carl Christman. I think one thing that might help with some of the things that you were talking about, based on my own experience doing very similar projects, is some sort of drafting system, even asking them to have the first paragraph written or to have some kind that you can look at. It is more grading, there's no question about it. But being able to say, you must have something, and you'll have to think about what's appropriate given that you haven't covered all the topics by the time you get there. But having them turn in something earlier, A, it gets them started earlier, and B, they have to start thinking about it earlier. And it forces them to come to your office, right? So you can say, this is what I do. If you want your draft back, you have to come to my office to get it.
Oh, okay.
Now, they don't all come, but those are the ones who probably wouldn't have done the draft in any case. So that's just an idea to kind of help with that. It does take some extra time, but I found that it really improves the final quality of those
Yes.
projects.
Yes. So I was thinking about that, but because nature is about applications, so I have this kind of idea that they were exposed to all the topics of calculus too before they actually started, but it turned out it was too late. So yeah, I should definitely try that next time. Thank you. Yes.
Amanda Matson, I have a comment about the, when you said that you had to cancel some people because of whatever. Have you ever heard of Brainshark? There's a website that if you have a PowerPoint presentation, you can upload your PowerPoint to Brainshark and then narrate over it. And then you can email people links or whatever. And so if you have to cancel but want to stay on schedule, you can tell the students to go to Brainshark It's just brainshark.com.
Branch.
Make an account for free.
Okay.
Upload a PowerPoint, narrate over it, and then upload it to whatever Moodle or Blackboard.
Okay.
And then the students can look at it and review it or do
Okay.
whatever there.
Because
So-
yes, I really appreciate, because I usually just use Dropbox and then I put it down and that kind of thing. So it's a brain
So Brain Shark.
Brain Shark. Okay, thank you. Any? Yeah.
David Cusick, for being too generous, you might set a certain level of points for which the students can say, okay, it's an 80, say 15 or 16 out of 20. And if they want to go up, they have to justify going up. And if they want to go down, they've got to put some justification for going down. So at least that'll keep it away from having everybody at the top.
Yeah, that's a nice idea, yes. Great, thank you.
Mylan Sherman, Drake University. A thought about the grading, as well as I think it would address some of the other issues as well, is to maybe have students work in groups of 2 or 3. Maybe have them identify topics early in the term and group them so that they're still working on something they're interested in, but also allows them to collaborate and work with each other. I think some of the purposes you had for this project at the beginning, I think could be further advanced by having the opportunity to work with their peers.
Right, I was thinking, original point of the project is I tried to do this PowerPoint presentation, to do the poster, so we had 2 pairs, one standing, the other view. But it turned out, well, it's probably makes more to practice their other skills. So I will definitely try 2 or 3, but another thing is, for example, I only have 25 students. I want them to explore as more different aspect applications as possible. So yeah, I guess I could try some balance between. Right, okay, great, thanks. Any others?
I think we're actually out of time, so if we could thank our speaker one more time, please.
All right, thank you.